be aware that right now you're probably going to have to sign up for a second window in order to get a full install. Same thing as before. Original battery, you should really consider replacing it if you're in America. And the invites will be coming out by email when we are ready for one. And API is about ready to go on our end. We are very close, and it looks like the OTA team is also started progress on their end. So hopefully that improves communication on these even further than what we have been trying for so far. So
Right, and I know people can read, but just to be clear that the API is a way for the OTA team who is not FOA to communicate with the owner of each car to say, we're starting install now, and we've ended this portion of the install now, so you can drive. Is that correct?
yep, so there'd be, an email that says, you're 2 hours away from starting. Don't touch your car. You're done now. You should have this software. Or you're done now. You didn't get all the way. You need to do XYZ instead.
So there's room. Go ahead, Chris.
Nicole, somebody asked what an API is, and that's actually a valid question. So we should probably explain that. Do you know how to explain what an API is?
It's
No.
an application programming interface, and it allows one application to talk to another. So we don't have to manually email spreadsheets between people. The applications will just talk to each other.
Yes.
Just to elaborate, it's because we, as FOA, have all the membership informations and email address, etc., which American Lease engineering team does not have. They only have the VIN information. So we make a contract between both systems to be able to notify you owners when the update will be available. It's through an API.
So system 1 can send a message in a specified format to system 2. There's some agreement ahead of time of what those messages will look like and what either side can do with them. And in this case, system 1 would be the OTA team doing the updates. They can give, as Guillaume said, they can give a VIN number, and then we know who that belongs to. And they tell us whether they're starting, stopping, if it's successful.
Awesome. Okay.
That takes care of that horse. Nicole, forgive me. I hope I'm not lighting it fused, but you have a bullet here about range estimate changes. I know there's been a lot of conversation. Is this a weather-related thing only? Is it a software thing? Is it both?
So that's really hard to tell. I do have questions in the survey so that people can record their estimates. We do know that there is a calculation change in how the range is calculated itself. So you will see range changes just based on the changes to the software.
Well, we have Nicole seen evidence that there is like a software glitch somewhere that actually like exacerbates that number. So it, to some degree that it is correct, but there is sometimes like there are cases where it is like basically grossly incorrect, and that has been discovered in a few cases.
And then shutting the car down, locking it, waiting a few beats and unlocking it, I think is what I read will help. I've not verified that, but I've read that.
Let's not speculate about that kind of stuff right now. I think that there are a couple of people who are like digging into this, trying to understand like what it is and why it is and how it can be fixed more conclusively and stuff. So I think that there has been some argument between people who just they kind of like dismiss this like these more like extreme cases as people not understanding that their range has changed, but those people are not crazy. They are actually witnessing something that is a real problem.
Thank you. Nicole, anything else you want to highlight?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, any other questions from Twitch that are pressing for this moment? Nothing that can't wait till the end. I'll take that as a no. Sybil, I believe you're up. Hopefully.
Yay.
It had a QR code, so I assumed it was you.
Yay! So now that we actually have members, there will now be elections. So the bylaws of the organization of FOA actually said that we were supposed to have elections back in August, but there were no official members to the organization. So now that membership has started, we can hold elections. And on even years, the president and chairperson and the secretary positions are up for election. So technically in August, but we're doing it in January. So the president and the secretary positions will be board seats that run for, I guess, a year and a year and a half, like almost 2 years here. I'm not going to do the math this early in the morning. However, we also have another position that's opening up. Our current treasurer is stepping down. Just way too much is on his plate right now. And since the treasurer position technically does not come up for election until like odd number of years, this is going to be a partial position. So this treasurer position will come up for re-election again in August of 2025. So 3 positions are open, 2 for full-term positions, president and secretary. The president's job is to preside over the board meetings and to kind of provide strategic direction. The secretary is to provide record keeping and notes of all the board meetings. And then the treasurer is supposed to do financial reporting and oversee financial functions of the organization. Full descriptions of their roles along with the bylaws are available in that brown QR code in the upper right-hand corner. There's a full discussion thread for election-based stuff in the green QR code over there. If you guys want to ask questions, if you guys have suggestions, want to encourage nominations by people, put your discussions there in the green QR code. Voting's going to begin on February 10th and run through the 14th. So there's a wide voting period, and the term for all of these roles will begin on March 15th. So then there will be about a month of transition period where you will be able to coordinate with the outgoing person and be ready for your incoming role. I don't know. Am I missing anything, Jay?
So my only questions are, it's not self-evident from the slide, but maybe it is in the discussion thread, but do I nominate somebody else, or do I nominate myself, or how does that part work?
Hey, somebody made a salient point that the QR code for the bylaws actually is being obscured by the little video window in the Twitch.
Oh,
so
I'm gonna move that down just a little bit.
Is that better?
interesting.
Can that be moved down or no?
I moved it a window on my screen. I'm not sure if that is what you're seeing.
No. It's not on your screen. It's in Twitch. Like there's a little window that shows the speaker in the upper right hand corner, but it's covering the bylaws QR code. The QR code needs to be moved down in the file.
And then whoever's presenting the file needs to refresh so that you can see those changes.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
That. It's okay. You don't need to make it look pretty. That's fine.
There you go. Stop making it look good.
Sorry, can't help it.
And what was your question again, Jay? Oh, nominations.
Yes.
You can nominate yourself. You can nominate. I guess you can nominate somebody else that doesn't want to do it, but that's kind of assholia of you. So, yeah.
Okay, just trying to figure out where the boundaries are, and everything else we believe is covered in that discussion thread.
Yeah, and I mean, voting wise, like anybody anywhere can, just as long as they're a member, can run. So there's no limitation on like geography or whatever. You have to own 1 car versus like 20 cars or something like that. Everybody's equal as a member to run.
So 1 member, 1 vote, or 1 steering wheel, 1 vote?
1 member, 1 vote.
1 member,
1
1
member,
vote.
1 vote. Yeah. So it doesn't matter, 1 car, 20 cars. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Any other questions that are that we should answer right now, or anything else you want to highlight?
I think that's about it. The voting will take place on a Google Forms, so it would be very accessible to everybody. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And I cannot remember who had membership. Was this Gita?
Yeah, me.
Hey,
Hey, AJ.
good to see you.
So I'm not sure of the timing in this slide, but I just pulled the numbers from Join It 2 hours ago, and it said 3,884 members, which is like not enough, but we're getting there. We had a big rush in during the holiday. A lot of members joined there, and it has flattened out a bit. There are 1,412 members from Europe, including Norway and UK, and there are 2,472 in North America, which is United States and Canada. So yeah, we have introduced an initiation fee of $100 for new members. So if you didn't join before New Year's Eve, you will now have to pay $100 in initiation. And there's been some questions on the info box regarding this. And if you were in contact with us before the 1st of January, we can waive the initiation fee, but only if it was because of the system failure and stuff like that. So reach out to the info box and we will help you. You want to be a member if you're listening here, not a member yet, because very, very soon, T-Mobile connectivity will be cut for all cars that aren't members in both Europe and in America. I think, yeah,
And
Christian.
that's a change.
We should clarify we bespoke about that last town hall.
Yeah, exactly. The last time I said that it would be only for the European cars, but it's actually for all the cars. So if your car is not yet updated to 2.2, it will be turned on in your update window for the update to happen, and then it will be turned off again. So you really want to be a member to keep connectivity.
And I take it that the whole turning off and turning on, the turning off part is not our idea, right? This is not something we're doing to be mean. This is what's happening to us. Yeah.
Yeah, we will have to pay for all the cars that are on T-Mobile, and we don't have the possibility or the will to pay for non-member cars. So, yeah, it's an actual bill that are being sent to us that we have to pay. So, members only.
I don't want to go too far down the T-Mobile rabbit hole. I'm guessing there are questions on Twitch about it, and I believe there's a later slide about it as well. Is that correct? Does somebody have that topic later?
I don't think so on the T-Mobile.
Okay, then let's talk about it. Is there more to, because are there questions in Twitch? People want to understand that better.
I don't know.
I believe we need to do a clarification with the last thing you just said, that cars will be switched off. All cars will be switched off. And then if we now speak of North America only, which has the mandated recall, which includes the 2.2 update, those cars will be switched back on for the mandatory recall and update. And then after that is done, they will be switched off again if there is no membership. And to be clear, the European cars will just be switched off, period, if they're not members. So there's a difference between Europe and North America. And Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, but that I think needs to be made very clear.
Yeah, just to confirm, we discussed that recently. European cars will be only those who aren't part of the membership program that will be disconnected. And for North America, because of the recall, they will need to keep their connectivity until the 2.2 is done. And if they are not part of the membership, then they will be disconnected. But we need to make sure that we can disconnect the car properly without creating any third-party issues with the car. So it's something that we need to test.
And I think the last thing is again, for Europe, only member cars will receive 2.2 in Europe as part of this whole
that should be
disconnectivity.
clear.
So let's be very clear about that.
Yeah, specifics are good. Thank you. So, Gita, you were sorry. Go ahead, Jens.
Gita, should we also speak about right now about the e-call on T-Mobile and get that get through that? Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Go ahead.
We investigated it, and well, the e-call European law is only regarding or only about the manufacturer of the car, and FOA is not manufacturing any cars. So, from our point of view, it's not our responsibility that the e-call button is actually connected to anything. We will test it, or the vehicle IT team will test it when they disconnect the car and see what happens. We're trying to figure out how the car will react. But if you want your e-call button to be on for sure, you have to pay for T-Mobile connectivity.
Meaning membership.
Meaning membership, yeah.
So, Gita, you were talking about membership results. You were talking about one of the downfalls of not being a member. To flip it back around, what are some of the other positives you do get from being a member?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Just,
we have our discourse forum on the community.fiskeroa.com, which is has been just a simple category with all the posts in. We are in the process of cleaning that up, creating a lot of new categories so it will be easier to find the posts you are looking for. And also those categories will only be available for members. So if you're not a member, you cannot see all the great stuff that is happening, and you cannot reply to anything. So if you want to be a part of the community, you need to join. And we will keep on building more functions into the discourse, and also work on the UI and stuff like that. So it will be a very nice place to be.
Good.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. We are volunteers, and there's a lot of posts that have to be moved about, but we're working on it. We also have the service marketplace coming in next quarter this year, which will be a members only marketplace for service requests. So if you have like a broken windshield or something you need to have fixed on your car, you can submit your task on this marketplace, and then service providers can like reach out and bid for it, stuff like that. It on it.
I can speak to that, but so
yeah.
that's just right now. That's in very early beta. So we're not actually releasing that to anybody yet. It's just our sort of general thoughts, estimations on when that will start being used is probably sometime in Q2 25.
And again, sorry, that's as a sort of meeting place for people who have service needs, and
it's
on the other side, service providers.
The way that Gita explained it is pretty much about right. As our current understanding, what we're, again, we're like sort of in early development on this, so the parameters may change, but the general premise is that the function of this basically is so that people aren't asking questions all the time about like finding somebody to work on something, but rather they just go to a centralized location. They say, here's my issue, here's what's going on, here's where I am. And then service partners who have identified themselves as working within the area that person is they will get notified about it. And then they can sort of put together an estimate for whatever they think that would cost. And then those estimates go to the owner, and the owner can decide what they want to do. We're not actually facilitating the service. What we're doing is just facilitating the connection to make it easier for people to find service providers. And then the other function of this too is for record keeping. So basically like keeping track of all of these service requests, which will help us to gather data that allows us to better know what needs to be supplied and to like make things more efficient on the supply end and things like that. And, and understand like, through patterns, how to improve on the service experience.
Christian, somebody explained it to me as a very simple thing. It's a Tinder between service needers and service providers with a geographical twist.
Kind of, yeah. Service Tinder.
Okay, very good. So Gita, other benefits, I think that last bullet point, surveys, OT
Yeah, it's
updates we talked about.
just to say that all communication will be in the community and not on 300 different Facebook groups and Reddit groups and stuff like that, because we cannot maintain it. So all official FOA communication will be in the community, and surveys and calls for stuff and everything. So if you're not in there, because we know a lot of members just paid membership and didn't really join the community, if you're not on the community, please reach out so we can help you get on board, because it's important for your experience to be a part of it.
And they should reach out to info, or
Yeah.
where should they reach out?
Just
Info at Fisker
info at
Owners.
yeah, exactly. And we're here to help.
And should they provide name, email they use to register, VIN number? What should they provide?
Just their email address, which usually is the one they are sending emails from. But if it's something different, then sure, put in that
They just go to
email.
market.
Sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, geez.
Someone needs to mute.
What was that? I'm listening to the podcast thing. I didn't.
See if I can figure out
Where's
who
it?
that is.
Say, Edward, I think that's you if you can mute.
You can mute. Me too. It's like, oh no, this is how psychosis.
Or Joy?
It's someone on an
Sorry.
iPhone.
Christian, you can mute them.
Oh, I can?
Hey.
And
Cool.
forgive me, can you still see the slideshow?
No,
No.
All right.
it says click to exit full screen.
That is fantastic. Give me 2 seconds, please.
Just for the record, it wasn't me.
Okay.
Okay, Edward. You're forgiven anyways. So we have still the two QR codes. If you want to join the membership, just use the top QR code, and you will be directed directly to our join page. And if you want to volunteer, I'm not sure what departments needs volunteers or what the demand is, but you should just use the QR code in the bottom, and it disappeared, Jay.
Oh, you're back to, I clicked exit full screen again.
Yeah. Yay, we're back.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm working on a new website because the join process is quite confusing and not always that easy to go through, because we have a lot of synchronization jobs running throughout the day. It's not done in real time, so there's some delays to emails being sent to people and stuff like that. And we're trying to build a flow that will just be real time and will guide you to become member and have a profile on the community and stuff like that. So I had hoped that would be done by today, but unfortunately I have been busy with other Fisker stuff. So hopefully very soon. that's the goal.
Thank you in advance. Thank you.
This is like you did. This is a transfer away from Webflow, right?
To WordPress. So we can also do the translations and have country-specific pages and stuff like that, and not pay a lot for that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone, Joy or Edward or Christian, who's looking at the Twitch chat, are there membership questions that we should talk about now?
We can
Dude.
keep it, I think.
I have one additional thing. Every now and then I'm seeing people ask if this email is valid or spam. So I am sending out emails if there are any disconnects between your membership and your registration. So if you get an email from me on asking to clarify your VIN or your email, um, those are legit. They are from me. And we do need that information connected so that you do not lose connectivity in error. So please be on the lookout.
Thank you. Let's move along. Cloud and connectivity. Guillaume, is this you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, the first part is currently we are looking at the IP to clarify all the legal stuff, organization and structure to be able in the coming years to start working with it to improve our cars, build new features, etc., etc. So we will have more detail about it soon, about how that will work and link to the connectivity such as T-Mobile and any other features that we need to build on. And the same for T-Mobile regarding EU and North America. So we are building up all the structure and that we will be presenting probably maybe in the next town hall or the next to next for more detail about it. Other than that, we are working on the 2025 roadmap. Essentially, the idea is to build up all the features that we need and that we want to build to be submitted for voting to owners. Essentially, we'll need to build up the roadmap and make sure that the engineering team have already trimmed out the cost of it and that we can present to you a delay, how much time it will take, how much it will cost to build a specific features, and then we'll submit to you owners for voting which one you want first or not at all, etc., etc. That will be only a membership capability only. So make sure to be part of the membership as well to be able to have the right to vote. Other than that, we started discussion with TomTom. We have a meeting planned with them. So far, what we understood is that they want a deal for the whole fleet, including IL's cars. So we need to figure it out with them that we are only concerned with the FOA cars and not American lease cars. So we need to see if we can move forward or not. But if by end of January, nothing has been concluded, so we will have we will stop negotiation with them. Other than that, otherwise, we have cloud cost optimization in progress. As you can see, the Fisker website is down. We have a lot of stuff that is being trimmed down to reduce costs so that we can know on the cloud aspect essentially how much it will cost us per month for the cloud operation, etc., etc. And because we shut down the Fisker website, it shut down a lot of things as well, including the ability to create a new account to use your mobile app and some other stuff like the release notes, etc., etc. So we need to migrate those stuff properly into a new instance that will be like cost effective and available on the long run. So
just for clarity, Guillaume, something you're working through, the FOA needs to create an account, but individual owners are not going to have to create a new account for cloud connectivity. Is that correct?
Oh, no, it's because to use, for instance, a mobile app, we need, in the past, it was through the website that you could create your account to be able to sign in after that in your mobile app, Fisker app, to be able to sign in inside your app. But because the website has been shut down, you cannot do that anymore. So we need to replace it with a new solution that we'll need to create to be able to create a new account that will be able to help you connect to your car and use all the APIs endpoint for such remote services, etc., etc., with your cars.
Right. But my point is, this is not something everybody on the call has to do on their own.
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
something you're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, got it. Just checking. Otherwise, thank you for looking at ways to sort of keep the costs down on the cloud by optimizing. So thank you for that. Anything else you want to highlight? Are there any questions that have come up that we should answer in the moment? I think that is
Okay.
no. Thank you. Thank you, Guillaume. Technical development. I don't remember who has this one.
You want to talk about this a bit, or?
Yeah,
Please, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I said, do you want to talk about this a bit?
Oh yeah, sorry. So I was saying, so yes, the 2.2, we have like we said, a few agreements that need to be concluded with the engineering team, which is a service provider that is currently working for both American Lease and the Fisker Owners Association, because they are in charge of the cloud operation and the existing IP. So we have some agreements that need to be put in place. That of course you will have the detail about it when it will be available. That will allow us to make new feature, like we said, on top of 2.2, that we will based on the vote submitting to make sure which one we want to prioritize first, such as Android Auto, CarPlay, cabin preconditioning, etc., etc. Of course, the priority is still OTA deployment because it's mandatory by the law. So most of the engineering team is currently focused on it, and we are trying to work on a process to help kind of make sure that owners are aware of when a car will be updated, even if for now it's not really reflected so far for owners. Related to the Fisker app, the official one, we didn't have time to figure it out what is wrong with phone as a key. I know that some people are using it so fine, but there is still a risk that it can create some trouble with your PKC module at some point. So be aware of it. It works like, let's say 60% of the time, but there is still some risk available with the app. And we didn't prioritize an investigation due to the OTA, the deployment, and the ICC boot loop. Also, like I was explaining before, so at the moment we have like an official app that is part of the IP. So it's the one that the engineering team will base the development on, whatever that is new feature. It includes as well the license for phone as a key from Chevalier. It's currently included in the My Fisker app. And after that, we have like the community apps that are done by the amazing members such as Maj, Ocean Linko, Fiskerify from Brad. And so those apps are like a part of the community. They use the APIs that are available and make their own enhancement of feature for the car on their own agenda and calendar, if I can say. So, but of course, the idea is on all sides that we build up APIs that will be available for everyone to use, and of course with our account and membership, etc., etc. But the main app will be the ones that will be supported by the engineering team.
Thank you. The note at the bottom is actually something I had inserted, and it's not really about 2.2, but it's just coincident in timing. There was questions and discussion about people's trial features on their car going away or not going away, and I think the intent was that those are not being turned off by AL; they're not being turned off by us.
Here's the complication in that, though, Jay, is that if they are indeed things that are only available if the car is connected to T-Mobile, then you would not be able to use them. And there's some confusion about, I mean, even internally, about like if all the things that are on there are actually connected to T-Mobile, or if they're not. We know some things are. So I think that it really depends on what's connected to T-Mobile and what's not.
Okay.
Which we're still learning about.
Got it. More info to come then. Thank you.
Yeah, so to like just sort of like wrap it up, basically, if you lose connectivity, anything that requires connectivity to work will not work.
Got it. Thank you. Anything in the Twitch chat that we should talk about now, or anything else to highlight on here? Okay. ICC boot loop. This, I think, was a conversation that we had last time around. Has there been any updates? I'm
I
not
think
sure
so.
if we have some.
I'll take that. Yes.
Thanks.
So, yep, the ICC boot loop, we have been working nonstop since the moment that this challenge have been thrown at us. So we have identified a solution and we have tested it. It works one time and it hasn't worked again on the one that they are looping. So it has worked on an ICC that was not looping, but it has the same, it doesn't boot. So it booted and it's installed and it worked. So now we are in the stage where we are trying to figure out what is going on. So for the last 3 days, and Gite is here, so we have been spending almost 12 hours on every night to just to make sure that what is can be done differently. But regardless, we're gonna hopefully reach an outcome soon. But something that to keep in mind that this outcome you need to see your location. So we need to know where you are exactly with that ICC loop to figure out how we can put a strategy to make sure that you can reach out to someone that could be able to apply that solution. So it's not going to be something that we're going to send you home and you're going to do it yourself. Neither you're going to go find it anywhere. So it has to be done in a very specific way. And me and Mash, we are trying to identify key people where they can actually do that so we can cover as much geographical area as possible. So this is really important that if you haven't given the location where you are when you filled out the Excel sheet that we sent around before, please do that again and inform for the US, inform Mashed where you are located. And for Europe, I know exactly everyone where is located. So that's easy. At least the one that I know they have that issue. So this is really important. We need to know where you are because it's not a solution that could be mailed to you or you could do it remotely or anything. It has to be one of us that has to actually put their hand on your car.
Okay.
Hmm?
Thank you. Anything else to talk through ICC boot loop?
No, I think so. That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Sam. All right. Service partners and fast tool. Sibla, this is you, I think. No, actually, your parts. Who had service partners?
Christian, can you speak to this, or am I?
Oh, I think Christian was left on there from last time. I think usually Polly and Sybil do that. Not sure it got updated from when we had so many out of offices.
It's okay. Okay, so on the first point, yes, they do still have access to Tsunami parts. That has not been a problem. They're, I guess I'm jumping to the third bullet. We kind of gotten over the biggest hump of fob fulfillment. So the warehouse has started fulfilling water pumps and door handles beyond that initial shipment. We are still waiting for door handle testing tools from American Lease. So even if the service provider is getting the door handles, they can't perform that door handle check yet without the official Chevalier tool. There are several service providers that actually have that door handle check from when OG Fisker Inc. Had sent them out, but not all of the service providers do. We're trying to hurry up and wait with American Lease to get the actual checking tool. I'm going to jump back up and then go back to the recall stuff. On FAST, the diagnostic and programming tool, we are, I'm going to be completely honest, we are working on borrowed time with the FAST licenses that are currently in existence in North America. The service providers had originally signed a service agreement with Fisker Inc. For usage of FAST. That contract was supposed to be in existence for 1 calendar year from when they signed their contract. So technically, these contracts should be good through April through June, July-ish, depending on when the service provider signed that contract. However, we've been advised that the contract became null and void when Fisker went out of business. So technically there is no contract for them to be using FAST right now. And the current owner administrator of FAST is the liquidating trustee, who has kind of signed that over to American Lease. And American Lease is drawing a bright line in terms of how much they want to charge for an initial startup fee and monthly usage fees for FAST. And I'll just say that from FOA's perspective, that cost is prohibitively high. And so we are still trying our best to go through negotiations to get that price down somehow. This is also tied in with our current negotiations on the recall work side of things, which is still ongoing. FOA's stance and position on the recall negotiations is that FAST is required as a final step for water pump recall replacements, and is also required for door handle replacements. And so FAST should be a requirement. At the service provider level, if American Lease and the liquidating trustee want any form of reasonable volume throughput to come into compliance with NHTSA requirements on the recalls. So that's still in negotiation. And I think the borrowed time portion is FAST is going to stay on until, this is my assumption, that FAST is going to stay on until we come to some sort of agreement on this recall work. Okay, so there's that.
One thing, Sybil, I just want to add, I'm having Nick go out and reach out to every single North American service provider just to talk to them about what their status is, what their plans are, what they think is going on. Like, this is not just about FAST, but also just in general, so that we have a better clarity on who's doing what, who's not doing what, because it's still a little murky.
Yeah, there are some service providers who are not providing service, even though they do have a FAST tool, and we're trying to get clarity from them on what their long-term intentions are with the ocean. On the recall side of things, just because I use the term that we're on borrowed time with the diagnostic tool does not mean that you should be rushing out and panicking and, paying exorbitant amounts for your recall work to be done. We are still negotiating on what the recall dollar amount for reimbursement is going to be for both the door handle checks and the water pump replacements, and for software updates. The way that it's structuring out right now is if you do go to a service provider and have to, pay upfront for the recall work, do not have them itemize the door handle checking along with the water pump together. Try to get them to bundle those two line items together as physical recall work. And then they can say physical recall work, comma, water pump replacement and door handle check. Have them bundle them both together, because the way that we're negotiating it is there's going to be a dollar amount for door handles and a dollar amount for water pumps. But the water pump one is relatively low, and the door handle one, reimbursement one, is relatively high. So the combination of the two actually makes it relatively reasonable for the shops. So have them kind of bundle the physical work together in one line item. For 2.2 updates, if at all possible, don't pay for the 2.2 updates in person. The way that it's panning out right now is the liquidating trustee wants all all 2.2 updates to be done via OTA for multiple attempts, and then when they cannot do it via OTA, then they're willing to send you to a physical location and get 2.2 updated physically. And that's the only instance in which they would be willing to reimburse for 2.2 updates in person. If you choose to have 2.2 updated in person, like before any of this is negotiated and finalized, you are out of your own pocket on a physical, like in-person 2.2 update. So just know that. If you do it in person, you are on the hook for that entire cost. After this negotiation is completed and a dollar amount and boundary conditions of who is eligible for an in-person 2.2 update have been established, then we'll talk about how much that physical 2.2 update reimbursement might be. Okay. We are also working into this negotiation, like what recall radius will qualify for a mobile technician. So you might be looking on that service provider list and seeing that there are big old service deserts across the US. And what American Lease is thinking of is bringing on a few mobile technicians that will schedule in those service deserts in certain parts of the calendar year. And then it would be your responsibility to book and then show up to one of those service locations. There's not going to be as much flexibility as, if you had bought a Toyota or something like that, where you can kind of choose when to bring your car in to get it done. So unfortunately, if you're in a service desert, you might be forced into a certain window of time. It won't be in like a day or something like that. They'll give you like, a window of time to do your work in that geographic area. But right now, it looks like it's about a 3-hour drive radius that the NHTSA is kind of agreeing on with the liquidating trustee. So, and this is for currently existing service locations and for mobile locations that that the liquidating trustee would be setting up also. So let's say you're in the middle of Montana or something like that. Actually, I don't know how far away Boise is or something like that, but they might set something up, around you that's like 2.5 hours away, and then they'll be there for like a few days or a week or something like that. And it's your responsibility to coordinate to get there, to get your physical service done at that point. If you are on a software version that's prior to 2.0, your software has to be updated in person, and so but still don't go and get it updated yet until this negotiation is completed.
I thank you. This is a lot of information. Thank you. Do you have any sense when that negotiation will conclude or how it's going? Do you think, in other words, you're talking about perhaps remote service or scheduling with a site? Would we know more details in the next 2 weeks, do you think? Next month?
Definitely within the next 2 weeks. American Lease is on the hot seat and has motivation for these negotiations to wrap up like yesterday. So all parties are very motivated to get this to come to a conclusion. It's just a matter of we have to get the liquidating trustee on board with the recall reimbursement numbers. And then it's really up to FOA, Tsunami, and American Lease to coordinate the actual execution of all of this stuff.
Okay, thank you. Speaking as an owner, that's comforting to me. Okay, I can hang tight for a couple weeks. My water pipe doesn't show signs of failure. My door handles seem fine, so I'm just gonna hang tight personally.
You're not in Minnesota.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Okay, Thank you. Any questions that have come up in Twitch chat that we should address right now? Take that as a no. Thank you, Sybil, for jumping in on that one. Appreciate that. And I think you might actually have, yeah, might have the next one too. It's QR codes.
Yep, QR codes. Okay, so many of you guys have already gotten your fobs. If you ordered your fob back in like October ish, and you received a order confirmation, a shipping confirmation, but like USPS hasn't received your package, please email info@tsunamiautomotive.com. The fulfillment warehouse has like dropped a lot of orders. So please email us. Don't PM me. The fastest way to get a response is to email the info@tsunamiautomotive inbox, and that's the easiest way for us to keep track of all the requests that we have. Okay, so a lot of you guys have received your fobs. Just a general announcement: the fobs have to be programmed. You can't just use it. So your fob is not defective, most likely. You just need to program it. Arrange for a meetup with that red QR code over there. Join the discussion. There are a lot of people already coordinating meetups in certain areas. FOA is working with Tsunami on putting together a meetup pack that the event coordinator will be able to kind of rent and check out. So that's in the works. You can also always just take your fob and your car to a service provider that has FAST or an OBD tool, or OFT, the mobile technicians. They're all able to program your car keys for you. They'll charge you a fee for it, however. I want to say Newport Fisker was running a special as well, but that's only if you're in Southern California. Canadians. The Canadian postal strike was long over, but there was this huge backlog of post that had to be digested before USPS would accept any more Canadian deliveries. So if you are Canadian and you were waiting for a delivery, we had to hold all shipments, the USPS shipments. Supposedly, USPS is going to start accepting today on Sunday, which means tomorrow, Monday. And so we're going to start fulfilling the Canadian USPS orders tomorrow. Okay. Some other Canadians, if you had ordered like via USPS and you got a shipping notification that you were upgraded to UPS, we tried to expedite and like upgrade some USPS orders to UPS, and we were just going to eat the upgrade of the shipping costs. It turns out, our bad, that the UPS shipping brokerage fee and customs fees associated with these things are absorbent. So if you had ordered via USPS and Tsunami upgraded you to UPS and you got sent this huge customs and duties bill, you have two options. One is refuse the order and it'll come back to us, and then we will fulfill you through USPS starting tomorrow. Or you can pay the duty and send us info@tsunamiautomotive.com a copy of like the duty that you paid, and we will refund you $40 in like customs and duties fees as a mea culpa on that. So those are your two options, and that's only if you ordered through USPS but we upgraded you to UPS. If you originally placed your order with UPS shipping, I'm sorry, unfortunately, that is on you. There were disclaimers on the site encouraging you to order via USPS because of the duties, specifically because of the duties. Okay, so that. Recall parts, they are available for your service providers to place an order. So that's for door handles and water pumps. Unfortunately, not for door handle check tools yet. We're still waiting on those. Windshields are available for direct order by anyone. If you place an order now, it's a pre-order for delivery in mid-January. So we're taking pre-orders for windshields that will be delivered mid-January. These orders, they have a fixed freight cost of $250, and we're able to create and send those on an individual basis. So the first round, we were packaging them up in multiples in a crate. We're now able to send them singular on a crate, but that's a $250 freight charge. For the EU folks, we have not forgot about you. In our next batch of windshields, 22 of them are going to stay in France for you guys to purchase. So we're working with the EU, the FOA EU folk to figure out where locationally they're going to be and how you can order them, but they will be available for you guys. As a reminder, there's a notify me button if for out of stock items. So use the notify me button if you're not able to order something. If you have a particular specialty item that you're looking for, we're trying our best. Send your request to info@tsunamiautomotive.com, and we're also keeping a list of what is needed. We are currently looking into air filters. That's the next thing that's going to be ordered, and that's going to be ordered for both North America and European markets together. We're trying to get a feel for the quantity that we have to order at this point. And I spoke a little bit earlier about the meetup packs.
Got it. So a couple of things to tug on in what you said. So the last one, the air filters, when those are available to order, there should also be some information about how to install those. Right? I think that would be on Discourse. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then taking it from the top, if there was an issue with the QR code in the upper right of the screen before, I'm guessing that Tsunami Store is also partially blocked. Yeah. So I'm not going to move it on the slide because it is just the Tsunami Automotive website that's listed there, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so no one should panic if they can't get to that QR code. And then under windshields, you have January, mid-January, and North America, February in EU. That's when those will be available at Tsunami, and then they could be shipped out after those dates. So delivery is really delivery to you, not delivery to an owner. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's a good question for clarification. Is within North America, we can ship to any address. We prefer to ship it to like one of the service providers that are on the list on the FOA site because they kind of know what to do. But just reach out to them first. But if you have an auto glass place, and they have fast, so they can recalibrate your ADAS afterwards. But if you have an auto glass place where the service provider is like too far away from you, you can also have the windshield shipped to that auto glass place. And then they can install it for you. Your ADAS will just kind of be messed up, but then you can just take your car with the new windshield already installed on it, and then get it recalibrated whenever you're with a service technician that can recalibrate. Yeah.
Thank you. Any parts questions in the chat that we should address at this point? I will also.
Sorry, I'm going to add one last thing. Is we have somebody looking into redesigning the vents, two versions of it. So redesigning the automatic versions that'll work with the motor deco controller that's in there, and then redesigning the vents to be completely manual. But the problem still exists that you would have to take off the entire front of the dash to install either one of those versions.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. And Jens, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, hi everybody. Update from Europe. We have been successful in arranging meetups in several countries. We have about 200 cars that have been having their key fobs and NFCs updated. We have survived some interesting challenges with the Chevalier coding software and tool, and we've now had them deploy 2 updates to their software to try to address some of those issues. So by the time we are having the big meets, some of the road has already been tested, et cetera, et cetera. So there's now some big meetups coming up in Austria, Germany, and the Nordics, and there's already been meetups in Switzerland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and I think the record is of course Gita, who has been driving around all over Denmark and being the stormtrooper of updates. And several people have built up a competency in using the tool, and we have here in Europe and shared that with the US for the coders and the volunteers that are going to be trained on the coding tools. This is how it works. This is what you will encounter. This is some of the potential hiccups that you'll encounter, and this is how you deal with them. And there was a new updated version of a how-to document that was shared both in North America and in Europe within the FOA for these meetups. And there's another one coming very shortly because there was a web link for the latest Chevalier software that wasn't working. So the list of tips and tricks and all the software links is coming in an updated version. One thing I want to mention is all owners should look at their existing key fob before they go into a programming meetup. And just in the same way as you would change your battery in your existing key fob, you open it and you look at the sticker label there, and you look at the last line on that sticker label, and it says a date. That date needs to be after the 16th of May 2023. The reason this is a cutoff date, and sorry to go into the weeds for this, but this I think is important. That means if you have an early delivery car, or you have an early dated key fob, if it's before the 16th of May, you need to update the firmware for that key fob. That is a separate routine where you use an app and you press both buttons on the key fob and they will talk together, and having loaded a file that will update your key fob. That is potentially going to be done through the programming meets, but we're just making you aware that you must know your production date of your key fob. That's on the owner that needs to do that, because don't come unprepared, because I want to tell you what happens if you get surprised by the fact that you have an early key fob. Even if you have a late car, your new key and your 2 NFC cards will be programmed, and that will knock out your pre-16th of May key fob. And you don't want that to happen, because that's not a good idea for anybody. And come prepared to the meetups, and that's going to be a list requirement for, at least in Europe, and we recommended that to our friends in North America, that you must know that, because then you will be also receiving an update of your current key fob before they start doing any pairing or any update. So sorry to be very myopic about this, but this is hard-learned lessons from Europe, and a friendly reminder that these things have to be done in the right sequence at the right time in the right way. So enough moralizing about key fobs discipline, but we wanted to share that with you because both Gita and Samer and Michael and a bunch of people have learned the hard way. Okay. But we have no bricked cars, or no, we've had some problems with the NFC reader that doesn't work, et cetera, so on the car or on the dashboard. So there's a bunch of stuff on the tips and tricks list for the FOA programmers that they will be aware of once they come to program your car, whether it is in North America and Europe, that will be a benefit that they will recognize something unusual and say, oh, this is what's happening and this is why it's happening and this is what we've got to do to repair it. Okay?
Yeah. Thanks to the European folks for being out in front on the key fobs and sharing that knowledge. It just sort of reminds me that we're helping each other. If US is the guinea pig on 2.2 and you guys are the guinea pig on key fobs.
Well, this is the quid pro quo, but the good news is that we've had a few cars where we couldn't do the key fob update because there was, for example, a failure, a physical failure on the outer door handle that couldn't be resolved by a syncing of synchronizing the NFC in the Chevalier tool, etc. But that then sends you to a service center because it's a bigger issue. Okay. On the lighter side, just very quickly, Geeta spoke of the new website. The country specific subpages for the new FOA site are translated already, and they'll be ready for the new website towards the end of January. The country at fiskeroa.com emails, excuse me, for each country liaison will be implemented then, because if we have a turnover or something on the country liaison side, that's going to be easier just to switch the email over. And also it makes sense that if you're in Austria, you do Austria at fiskeroa.com and you will automatically get to the liaison. But that will be explained and shoot out in a more elaborate form after we get closer to the website launch.
C'est good and très bien, but there's some red text on this slide as well.
Yeah, the red text is that is moralizing because we are, particularly in the European Steering Group and the country liaisons, we're getting emails, and some of them are not necessarily polite. Some of them are not founded. Some of them are as if we were died and we're trying to, in a volunteer manner, help the owners. So don't start bullying people that are trying to help you. The other thing is, and this is a real example, somebody sent an email on Christmas Eve, and on Christmas Day, because there was no response, was rather aggressive and not very nice, and said, why haven't you replied on my email? In general, think how you would want someone to address you if you were the person to help. So enough moralizing, but come on, guys, be decent, be polite. We're trying to help, and we are being bombarded, and we're trying to help. Okay, enough of moralizing, and now on to the next slide, which is going to be a little bit more substantive. If somebody, okay, parts and service in Europe. We mentioned previously that the Flying Doctors program out of Fisker Graz is now coming together. We're waiting for the service pack to show to the potential service partners that are going to be collaborating with that. If they cannot fix a car in a service center, then they're going to call on the Flying Doctors. The service contract between Fisker Austria as the provider of the Flying Doctors and the service partner is being reviewed before FOA handles over the responsibility for the service partner and the communication for the service partners to Fisker Austria. We'll give you some examples that the fast subscription for 1-2 years for service shops to have access to ordering parts at all is of concern and is being discussed. So we're not quite there yet, but yes, we have the Fisker Austria parts window is opening now in January because they've contracted a warranty insurance starting in January 2025. The parts window will be open to service partners, not to individual retail owners. And to explain how things are, Fisk Austria will be providing all the parts that they have that have a chip in it and that are protected by intellectual property. That will be for North America and for Europe. And that's due to the IP rights. And they'll provide those parts to dealers and service partners in Europe. And that is assuming that those service partners have signed up for a service agreement and a fast subscription. And that is still parts in negotiation, as I mentioned earlier. American Lease will supply mechanical parts from China to Fisker Austria when and if Fisker Austria runs out of their own existing parts in the Graz warehouse. A little bit of update on the water pumps. The pallet of 288 water pumps that was purchased not by FOA but by private initiatives by the country liaisons and the European Management Group. This was to keep cars on the road this winter because we've got about 3,000 cars and there were 288 water pumps available in Europe. We have those. We are now seeing Northern Europe pump failures with almost 20 since Christmas. And therefore, if you want to buy a water pump because you want to have one to be safe, you are not getting one. For the simple reason that we are seeing that there's going to be a strict breakdown only policy because we don't have one water pump to sell to everybody. There is an initiative that we are working on to get more water pumps. So be patient. If your water pump is breaking down, then contact your country liaison. They will help you because then you have a legitimate breakdown, and that's got to be substantiated by the repair shop that you take it to, because some of the symptoms for a water pump failure can be something totally different. But right now, as an example, in Northern Europe, those symptoms are very clear and becoming winter has arrived, to use Game of Thrones reverse engineering. A piece of good news, a lot of you, both in North America and in Europe, have been screaming for the wheel arch trim, the one with the orange reflector on it, because that's the one you break when you come too close to a parking garage post or have a little skirmish of some kind. We're having those scanned at a partner service provider, and we have been able to already develop a cooperation agreement, or they have done themselves. This is a Norwegian scanning outfit that has now made friends in Sweden, which therefore is within the EU, and they have a North American cousin, and they will share and sell each other the STL 3D scan files, and that, for example, a wheel arch trim thing can then be produced in North America and then be shipped out of North America, so you can order it. And that is going to take a while. It is going up to Northern Norway to be scanned this week, so we'll hear how it's going. And the other part that is, it's a depressing part, because some of you have been very unfortunate and have either backed out or driven into your garage or a post or some column, and you have torn off the charge port door. And that is thoroughly depressing. And we are now trying to get along with the wheel arch trims, we're trying to get that, or not trying, we've picked that out of a Frankenstein car, a donor car, and they are now, I saw them on Friday, and they are now on their way to Northern Norway to be scanned, and then there'll be STL files that can be shared in the EU and in North America to have those 3D produced. And Sybil.
Tsunami has a handful of the charge port doors if you are like just frantic emergency. They are queued up for shipping. because our warehouse had to inventory and unpack them, but they are up for purchase and waitlist, both of them, up on the Tsunami site.
Yeah, and the point of doing that is that, for example, in Europe, we haven't been able to get hold of them, and they will be in short supply. But the thing is, we're not having them produced. They're going to be produced as needed when and if we're running out of them. And in Europe, we we don't have any. So it's also making sure that we have a 3D production capability, et cetera, et cetera. And there we go. We're working with Tsunami on glass and solar skies, as Sybil was talking about. And then the son of Tsunami, or the daughter of Tsunami, or it has many names, but we're working on accessories procurement for, together with Tsunami, for a European version of the distribution on air filter, brake pads, and more things for Europe in cooperation with Tsunami. And these are parts that Fisker Austria has told us they don't cover. So service parts is not something we're going to be able to get for dealers through Fisker Austria, because they simply don't have that. If you want an air filter today, you would have to buy a whole dashboard setup, and that's kind of a very expensive air filter, to be honest with you. Okay.
I'll humbly suggest the name EUNAMI, but that's just
yeah. Thank you. And sorry for taking a lot of time, but a lot of things are going on. And what I haven't said here is that I think we have about 13 locations on FAST that are operating, and they are also part of the discussion that Sybil had around FAST earlier. Okay.
Any questions from chat around anything Europe that we should address now? I think we're about to move into the Q&A phase anyway.
Hey, I wanted to call out one thing, because I think it does need to be stated. So on the key fob front, so I just wanted to mention today. I don't know if you guys know Rich and Nick in New York are doing key fob programming, and they ran into a brick car. And I had them talk to Chad to ask questions about like how to address that. And I think we should acknowledge all the sort of forward work Chad has done with regards to the fobs and the knowledge on that. And so I just wanted to make sure he doesn't get sort of lost in the ether.
Yeah, a good reminder.
Because it was an immediately helpful thing, and it wouldn't have happened if Chad didn't have that knowledge.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good reminder, along with a few other points in this conversation, that we really are here to help each other. So thanks for that, and thanks to Chad. Anything else that you want to call out, Christian?
No, let's go to the Q&A.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing because I at some point lost seeing everybody's faces. There we go. So Q&A. Joy and Edward, I think you were collecting questions.
Yeah, Edward is a master at collecting questions, and then I just get to read them. So he's been furiously watching the chat. There is one person before we start the questions who asked if you could repost the QR code for volunteering for FOA positions. So maybe have that up.
I will put that. Yeah, let me go do that.
And
you
then
you can continue. I'll do that while you're talking.
Okay. I thought perhaps we should just do the EU questions, EU specific questions first, since it's getting late for those folks over there, I think.
Sorry, Joy, which QR code was it for the volunteering or for meetups, or which one?
Yeah, for the volunteering.
Okay. I'll find it.
Okay, so the first EU question we have is, for the water pump replacements in the EU, will there be a price tag approved with the service suppliers similar to what's happening in the US?
I wish we could. We have been lucky, and this is the brutal answer. The answer is no. We have been able to provide actual pumps, which didn't exist available for our Fisker cars. So we secured that. Those will, depending on what country you're in, you contact the country liaisons, and the answer is we cannot mandate the price for a repair of a water pump or for what the water pump will be sold for to the customer in that particular country. The way the pallet of water pumps was distributed was according to the stated need of that country, and they will be sold at a reasonable price, covering the costs that the people who have fetched them and purchased them and paid for them, because there was no FOA money involved. That is going to be what is sold to the dealer for the owners then to be able to get a new pump. It varies from country to country depending on freight and all the other things that add up, but let me give you an example. There is the most expensive water pump that was non-FOA associated. In other words, that people associated with the FOA has taken the responsibility of getting those into the country. There was let's call it a parts provider, which we are not necessarily very friendly with, or we are definitely not associated with. They took $400 or 400 euros for that matter for a water pump plus 80 euros in freight. That is not the level that we are talking about, but that is just to give you the example. So the answer is we don't control the prices. We are selling those procured pumps out at a reasonable rate. And what the service shops are doing is something we don't control. We are trying to reason with them, et cetera, et cetera. The reason we are not selling that to the owners is because every owner is going to want a water pump to have on the shelf in case their car dies. We have 3,000 cars in Europe. We got 288 water pumps, and that's good going, and therefore we should be pretty happy that we will be tied over for the winter. That's the reality of it. Geeta helped me out here because I'm getting myself worked up because it was real hard work to get that pallet. It takes 13 weeks to get new water pumps. There are a few water pumps around in Europe, but at totally different prices.
And I think the question was really just, will there be an approved upon price that's the same for everyone? I think what you're saying is the answer is no.
Absolutely not, unfortunately, because the FOA does not have an omnipresent power to dictate prices to dealer service shops, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
We could wish so, but it is not the case.
Great. Thanks, Jens. Another question. Are service points and mobile techs in place for the UK and Germany?
Germany has now gotten an active service point, yes. Mobile techs are available through the Flying Doctors program, which I mentioned, which we're still waiting for the framework on, but the mobile techs are available, meaning the Flying Doctors, because we don't really have the mobile tech concept completely yet enshrined in Europe, because most of the techs have sort of disappeared into different lives and different jobs. But in Germany, yes. And which was the other country, Joy?
Germany and UK.
UK is still a weak point because of the lack of fast, but let's put it this way. We have developed and lined up several service points which are interested and have already done some work on Fiskers, which is physical and mechanical work. So there's a couple of former mobile techs that have incorporated themselves in Scotland. There is, I think, 2 dealers, there's 2 service repair shops that are desperately waiting for round 2 of being able to get their fast agreements and licenses, and they're rearing to go. So the answer is we have the people ready to go. We are working hard to get fast to them so they can be fully operational.
Okay, and the last one for the UK, it seems that in the UK, it's very difficult now to get insurance for the ocean. Not very many companies will do it, and the premiums are high. I think this is probably true outside of the UK as well. Does the FOA have any plans to approach insurers as an organization to get preferential rates?
Yes, to approach insurers. Preferential rates is probably the wrong term to use for it. Preferential rates, but I think that one of the issues is that insurers don't know that we exist. They don't know that we are sort of rebuilding a sort of parts and service pipeline. And so if their impression is basically that the car has no support, then that is going to lead them to refuse insurance. And so I think one of the things we have been trying to do, certainly around North America, is sort of just monitor renewals, and at least in North America, we haven't seen any real change. I mean, some insurers will drop people on a case-by-case basis, but generally speaking, renewals happen, and in some cases, rates have even gone down. So we haven't done everywhere around the world yet. UK is still an open concern, but again, like I want to bring it back to just saying, like, what we need to do is make sure that insurers know that we exist, and they know there is a place they can call to talk to you about how to find parts and things like that. And at present, it's not commonly known, so I think this needs to be a project for early this year.
Yeah, and just to highlight the European end, we have seen comprehensive been canceled on cars. And so it's only liability that is available. And to answer the other part of the question from the European side, once the parts window in Graz has officially been opened in January, as we've been promised by Fisker Austria, every country liaisons is going to get, as part of their regular meetings, and their participation of that is going to get briefed on, now the Graz parts window is open. Now we have the list of now active service points, meaning they also have fast. So then they can go to their insurance association in their country and saying, okay, here, we're the FOA. We can now present to you, there is a supply chain for parts. There is a repair competency with diagnostics, blah, 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 and reprogramming, etc. And that is going to then also be communicated to all the owners so they can beat up their insurance company on the head to say, okay, we're no longer a very strange bird that's uninsurable and unparts recoverable, blah, 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 blah. And this is going to take time, but is there a conscious collection of information that's going to take place once we have Graz and all of the service network, which is over 30 providers in Europe, up? That's going to be one of the, let's call it, first half of this year projects to be able to start pushing back on the disadvantageous insurance terms that we have been subjected to.
Okay, thank you, Jens. I'm going to move to the topic of the 2.2 updates now, but Jay, there's also now a request for the QR code for the Tsunami store. So if you could put that up.
TsunamiAutomotive.com is very long.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll get there in a second. But Tsunami Automotive.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead with questions on 2.2?
Please.
Okay, great. So I'm going to put two together here. There's a question about, do we know what percentage of 2.2 updates are now complete in the US? And when is the plan to resume 2.2 updates?
We do not know the percentage that is complete in all of the US. I have trouble getting a complete data set from 1 week. So we do not know the entire United States. We do, I mean, hopefully I will get an email out with an invite tonight for new slots for people with healthy vehicles. So that is a goal here. So hopefully some people will get an email out tonight for slots next week. This week. It's this week.
Nicole, sorry to crash in on this one. Can you give a guesstimate? When we took over the cloud together with American Lease, there was about 25% that had been processed and updated with various results. Can we have any opinion on what we think it is with all the caveats that you can do? In other words, have we done 1,000 cars? Have we done 500 cars? Maybe just even a guesstimate would be very useful. One that you will not be held responsible for. It is a subjective estimate because we don't have the actual numbers yet.
I mean, 14 cars a week. We've done 3 weeks. So add 14 cars times 3 to the total number before.
So it sounds like it's a long process to get this work.
We're going to be doing this a while.
Okay. So we know now from you guys that the over-the-air team is assessing the 12-volt battery status of cars, and a person asked, they just replaced their old battery with a new one. Will the car be checked again, or do they have to do something to get them to check and see the new status?
They're supposed to run the checks every week on all unupdated cars.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's a routine that they have to check the 12-volt battery, so it will be done automatically.
Okay.
Also, look at my question in the OTA discussion channel.
So I'm sorry, Christian, I don't know what you're asking because I don't see who is asking what.
Oh, I'm asking. No.
I just said that.
What? Oh, we did.
I did just say that. Yeah, I just said that. Hopefully, I can get an email out tonight for signups for Monday.
I must have been in a fugue state or something.
Okay. And then the last one on the over-the-air update is if we're not connected, if we cannot get reconnected, I guess. So when they lose their cloud access, so this, I assume, is not a member, how can I complete the 2.2 upload? Or maybe it's a person who can't get reconnected.
You have to have, if you're having a technical problem, you need to have a technician come out and fix your vehicle. If you are not a member and your service is going to get disconnected, you will get reconnected for the 2.2 update and then disconnected after.
Okay.
And in the EU, so we cover all bases, is if you are not a member, you will not get 2.2.
And I guess just in case this person has some problems with getting 4G connection, can the 2.2 update occur through Wi-Fi if their
It's
car
preferred.
Okay.
Wi-Fi is better.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi is preferred. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's all we have on the 2.2 updates. We do have one question that had to do with the board elections, and that is, how many members are in the board? So maybe Sybil could tell us a little bit about the board.
President, secretary, there's a VP, treasurer. Why does 4 not seem like the right number?
The membership director.
Membership.
Isn't it?
Membership. So 5 members on the board.
Okay. Perhaps if they're not already, I don't know if they are, maybe they should be listed in the community, the board. Yeah.
It is in the bylaws, what the positions are and, like who they are currently, the people right now. I think there is a post in the membership
There is
section.
a post in there somewhere in the community.
Great. Okay, we have a question about the cloud. Is there any new status on TomTom or the alternative? I think that was kind of touched upon in the reports.
All right, so just on TomTom, like I said earlier, we currently engage a discussion with them. They want us to have a deal for the whole fleet, including American lease. So we need to figure it out where that will move forward, because of course, it's only a service that owners are interested in, not American lease. So we plan to continue negotiation with them until end of January, but if it doesn't move forward, we'll continue on our other initiatives, such as Android Auto and CarPlay, and or replace with another default navigation system that we will build on inside the roadmap.
Okay. A question about the ICC boot loop problem. Is this only related to the 2.2 update? I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads that has nothing to do with the 2.2 update. Is that correct?
No, there are more cases that they are not related to 2.2 update.
Okay, so it can happen to anyone at this point, I guess. All right, parts and service. What is the status of getting a supplier for brake pads? And are the brake pads different in ultras and sports than for the ones?
A set of brake pads have been sent down to a brake manufacturer down in Southern California for them to take a look at and get us a quote on both the front and the rears. The brake pads themselves are exactly the same across all of the trims. What's different is just the painted caliper on them, but the pads themselves are exactly the same. Between the US and the EU versions, the EU version has a different material on the brake pad. I don't know enough about international automotive law to know whether there's a single material that we can make brake pads out of that'll accommodate both markets, but that would probably be the easiest way. We'll find out. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I think it does. We have a couple more questions, Sybil, on service, and I'm trying to decipher what these questions mean. So I'm going to read, is the offer of connecting members and service providers, so I think this has to do with the marketplace, for non-urgent issues. And in this particular case, the person says, I need a battery replacement, water pump replacement, blah, blah, blah. I guess they want to know, do they do that through the service marketplace, but that's not even available yet, correct?
Let me, well, okay, for at least for North America, for the 12-volt battery replacement, I would call around to a local shop and see if they can replace your battery. There are plenty of discussion threads that are very, very comprehensive and very good up on the community forums. So I would read through that. There are plenty of people who've just taken it to a local shop, like a Pep Boys or something like that. They just have to be willing to touch your car. A lot of people are very dicey about electric cars. And any mechanic can do that, and you can even bring a battery if you want to. And the discussion threads will tell you which battery it is. For the water pump replacement, yes, get a technician, either mobile or one of the physical service shops, and they can take care of the water pump for you. So this is without the marketplace portion. If you are in a service desert-like type area and have to rely on a mobile technician, I would also jump on the community forums and in the meetup area, see if people are arranging a meetup for a technician to come to that area. because the travel costs for a mobile technician, if it's just you, it gets pretty hefty. But if you can get like, 4 or 5 people together, to defray the travel cost across several owners, it becomes a lot more reasonable.
Okay, great. Let's see. So is it possible for FOA or the service centers together to provide an overall possible for FOA or wait a minute, something's just happened to my mute. Okay, does the sound okay now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, good. I was hearing an echo between Twitch and Zoom. So the question is, could FOA and perhaps working with service centers give an overall assessment of what needs to be done with the cars at certain mileages? Like when you buy a regular car, you say it's at 40,000 miles, you have to change your timing belt or something. So will there be sort of a scheduled maintenance kind of thing that might come out to help owners?
Well underway.
Great. Great. Okay, that was a fast answer and a good one, I think.
Oh, actually, can I throw in a real quick add-on to that? Is if you are in a just really cold climate, speaking to you Canadians again, and I guess Norwegians or something like that, is try to make sure that your windshield wiper fluid hole is covered. Some of them are not sealed properly, and water, like melted snow and stuff like that, are getting in and diluting the windshield wiper fluid, and that raises the freezing temperature. And if your windshield wiper fluid freezes inside the tank, you're going to have a bad time. So exactly, Jens. Do you want to add on to this? Because you're seeing
Yeah,
this
I'd love to, but you go ahead and finish. Oh, okay. For cold cars, as we call them, recommendation to avoid what the disaster that Sybil just described. And by the way, if your tank freezes, it's going to freeze down all the way down to the intake, to the small pump that squirts it back up to your windshield. And when that cracks because of the expansion of frost, you've got to go in through the front right wheel arch to repair it. And it's messy and it's difficult. The point here is
there's also unsealed connectors there that can be affected by your
while you're at it. My point here is, first of all, do not put in diluted antifreeze in there or windshield wiper for a certain temperature. Take pure concentrate and keep your tank always filled, because then the potential water that is potentially finding its way into your tank will not make it into your tank because your tank is full. And if your tank is full, by having pure concentrate windshield wiper, in the Nordic countries, we have it to minus 45 degrees Celsius, which is somebody is going to do a Fahrenheit translation and figure out that is really, really cold. But if you put pure concentrate in there, you keep your tank full, you won't have the trouble. But there is a 3D project ongoing for the design of a new cover. And we've already had the existing tank cover scanned. And the same people that I mentioned about in Northern Norway have already scanned the existing tank and come up with well, it's not yet elegant, I'll give you that much, but it's actually not allowing leakage into the tank. But keep your tank full with pure concentrate and you won't have the problem this winter.
Okay, so we just have a few general questions left here. One is will it be possible in the FOA website for, I think, members to see their VINs, to see if their VIN is linked to their membership? So I think that's...
We're working on having the data synchronized to the various systems and platforms we're using. So you can also see your membership status if you paid and your membership ID and VIN number and all of that stuff. So we're working on it.
Okay, great. Thanks. Another question. Will we be able to gain access to Tesla supercharger networks? Has anybody got
That's
to
North
that point?
America, right?
Yeah, North America. Yeah.
This one comes up like every couple of town halls. So the agreement around the superchargers was made between Tesla and Fisker. Fisker no longer exists. They didn't do that development. So the original plan for that, you can forget about that. There may be some universe in which we are able to talk about possibly doing this. We haven't explored it yet. There are more important immediate things to do. So maybe, maybe not. We'll see.
Okay. And the last one that's been funneled to me is, are we still in the red financially? I assume this means legal dues, legal fees.
Cooley is fully paid up as of last week. I mean, we're still doing some things with them regarding negotiation and all that. So there are some more. There will be some additional cost, but the original bill is taken care of.
Legal fee. Anything else?
Legal fee specifically, yes. That's the one I'm speaking of.
Okay. Are we speaking of any other cost yet?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
I would say it's maybe too early to get into details on those things because we're still working out those details. So.
Okay, that's the questions that we have that were summarized. There were about 1.5 million questions coming through the chats, and we try to keep up, and Edward does a great job of sort of sifting down and putting those together. But back to you, Jay.
Actually, I'm good myself. If anyone else has something, now's a good time. Otherwise,
I have
Christian,
a 3-second one is we failed for the Europe key fob pairing project to mention that there has been significant activity in the Benelux on the key pairing, and we didn't want to have them feel left out. They have been doing a stellar job to contribute to the how to and how not to and what will you experience document that some of the FOA coders have done that. So thank you for the ping on the chat to Ton Koos, who said that they've also been doing most of the Benelux cars based on the key fobs that they had ordered. And let's move on. But thank you.
A toximiket to them. So again, I'm good. Christian, if you would unplug us from Twitch when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.